Hey guys, welcome back to Brinker Family Farm. It's a beautiful first weekend in November and we are out trying to gather some seeds. That's been my goal for this week, is see how many seeds I can get gathered up. And my father-in-law just mowed all the back rows for us. The first thing I'm going to show you is when I'm picking my beans. I don't remember what these beans were actually called. I have to go back in the house and look and see, but they're really pretty and I'm excited to experiment with them this winter, and I'll have plenty to try again next year. They were a pole bean and they went growing like crazy. They were growing up the sunflowers, and I'm going to try to make sure I have a good spot for them next year. Which with the hoop house, I won't be growing probably quite as many tomatoes out on these whole candles that we have, so I'll have more room to grow beans. And so these are all dry. I'll go in eventually over the winter and shell them all, but until then I'm going to leave the bag open just to make sure no moisture gets in there and ruins these seeds. So beans was the first thing I was collecting, and next up was flowers. So the next thing I'm going to do is some flowers. I want to make sure I get some of each of the shades, if I can, of the cosmos that we have. I would like to keep each of the shades of cosmos in a separate package, and so I'm going to be just using these. I actually bought these for something else and they're kind of smaller than I wanted them to be. They'll still work for what I was wanting, but they'll work perfect for storing seeds in. It's one of the cosmos I don't know, so I'll just have to label it as Cosmo Unidentified Color. So you can see these are dry and there's only a few seeds left on this one. Most of them have dropped. So this one, you can still see some of the seeds are still in it. And these, they just fall right out. When they're good and dry, they'll just come right out. And so all these little black in the palm of my hand are Cosmo seeds. These little packages have a little window in them. And so I'm going to take my seeds and I'm just going to stick them in there and just slid them in there, and I'll zip it up, and I'm going to write the date that I got them, that is a Cosmo, and I'm not sure what color it is, and then they'll be good to go for next year. I can't decide if I need my sunglasses or not, and I'm really sorry. It's super windy, and it's supposed to be windy all weekend. So I grabbed a pen and I just wrote on it Cosmos, unknown color, and the date, and they're ready to go for next year. The next thing I'm going to go look for is some zinnias, and I'm going to look and see if any of my bachelor buttons have any seeds on them. That is a gorgeous nasturtium, and an African daisy, I believe is what that other one's called. So this is a zinnia seed, and that's what I'm going to be keeping for next year. Now I watched a lady who was talking about seeds, and if this bends like really easy, then there's no viable seed in it for next year. But this one didn't really bend, so this one has a good seed for next year, which you can go through and do that in the winter. Right now I'm just going to stick them in the envelope and keep on moving. This one wasn't quite dry enough, and so this has like no seeds that were dried up in there. This one is real dry, and I'm going to just stick it in my envelope labeled Purple Zinnia. My assistant, you're doing a great job. This one, I'm going to write on it mixed zinnias, because I'm not going to just worry about specific colors. I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of seeds and stick them in there and worry about that later. And worry about sorting out the good from the bad on another day. I stopped on my way to the bachelor buttons for calendula. I've been collecting lots and lots of it. This calendula's been doing very good, and I'm excited to make lots of salve. These seeds are actually really fun. Let's see, I just seen a second ago. Here we go. So right here, these are seeds. Here's the calendula seed, and they're kind of like, they almost like a C-shaped. And these are definitely on my list for saving, because I want lots of calendula for next year. Which calendula actually will self-seed, drop their seeds, and then grow their own next year. It'll be interesting to see what we get growing back next year in this area. Yes. Okay. Alright, so I got over to my bachelor buttons. They are really awesome. They start in the spring early. They're one of the first plants to start blooming. And then I've noticed, I'll show you in a second, where they are actually blooming again here in the fall. So there's their seeds, along with some of the extra fluff that we don't need, like that. But they are my favorites. Mia found our bachelor buttons. Aren't they looking gorgeous? They've just been adding a nice little pop of color in this section of the garden. I'm really enjoying them.
And there was also a very bright color. There's a bright color, but then all of the bright colors died. I just said that these are like a watercolor, and then the other ones were like an icy color.
They were pretty, huh? Hey guys, so we are on day 2 of saving seeds. It's been one of those things where it kind of takes a lot of days to get that done. It's very windy outside, so I'm going to finish the rest of this video inside. So yesterday I gathered up these bean pods that were full of seeds, and I looked them up, and they're called Good Mother Stallard beans, and they're supposed to be really good for you'll be able to just cook them with some carrots and onions and make a nice, and it's supposed to make a nice meal that way. I also had some other beans in the mix, so whenever I go to open them all, I'll have to put them into 2 separate piles, because I have these they're just a white bean. Oh heavens. The one Mia has is the Good Mother Stallard bean, and then I also have
The white one.
some white ones. The white ones are just a bean, like a typical pole bean. I really don't have a name for them. They were given to a cousin, and they made it through the garden getting tilled up this spring and still grew. As I go through my beans, I'm just going to put them in a jar. You can also put them in them, you can also put them in the little envelopes that I had yesterday. Yeah, beans. But for the sake of kids helping me, this works, and then I can go through and sort them out another time.
Like the
Yep, beans go in there.
There's one of these.
Another thing I'm going to save is these tomatoes. This one's not as big of a tomato as the ones that we were getting this summer. This was kind of the end. It was green, and I brought it in the house, and it finished ripening up, so I'm going to use it today. But there was 2 plants, and they were full of abundance. They grew a lot of tomatoes, so I want to make sure I save these seeds. I'm going to move the camera in closer and show you what I'm doing and explain how I'm saving these seeds. I have my jar ready with some water. I'm going to cut this tomato.
Got meal.
Yeah, cut the tomato.
Got meal.
And I'm just going to squeeze in.
Okay, honey.
Hold on. Squeeze. Squeeze. Yeah, we're squeezing in the seeds and getting them in there. Yeah, squeeze them in. Very good. Very good. It's in here with all the pulp and stuff. I'm going to leave it today and just kind of swish it around. Then I will strain it out and put new water and leave it for another 2 or so days. Having it in the water for the next 2 or 3 days is going to help get all this stuff off of my seeds. After like 3 or 4 days of this tomato seeds being in the water, and you just kind of shake it around a couple times throughout the day, I will strain them out, and I'll put them on a paper towel and just let them dry. Once they're good and dry, I'll probably leave mine for a week. Store the seeds in a paper envelope. Just make sure you label the date that you got them and any other facts that you want to make sure you don't forget. I like to use this old tray, I don't really bake on this anymore, to put my paper towel down on, and then you could write right here, you could write on a piece of like paper tape or painter's tape the date and information that you want to make sure you keep. That way you can keep your seed information on the right tray and make sure they don't get mixed up. Oh, one more thing about the tomato seeds, you want to make sure you cover them with something. I'm using a coffee filter, but you can use cheesecloth or like an old t-shirt, just something so it can breathe a little bit and you're not encouraging mold to grow. The final seeds we're going to talk about are pumpkin seeds. I'm going to show you how to do that. The thing with pumpkin seeds is you don't want to leave them sitting in water too long. And you don't want to leave any of that pulp on them. It'll ruin your seeds, and you'll be wasting time storing them and trying to plant them next year. They just will not grow. I'm going to show you the pumpkin I used and what the seeds end up looking like. This is a Jarradale, I believe is how you say it, pumpkin, and it's this like slate gray color, and it's really thick inside. This pumpkin actually it's heavy, it's got a lot of weight to it, so there's a lot of usable pumpkin in here versus some of your versus some of your other pumpkins where they can be like really light and hollow on the inside. All I did was I cut it into 4 pieces, and then I laid it out after I had cleaned it, and I cooked it, and it was wonderful. I'm really excited to try making some pumpkin rolls and pumpkin pie out of it this fall. These are the seeds from the Jarradale pumpkin that I saved. I rinsed them off, laid them out. Yes, pumpkins. I laid them out, and I just can kind of move them around a little bit because I don't want them to stick to this paper towel, which they will do. This seed, you can tell, is lighter. It's lighter in color, and it's not plump. This is an undeveloped seed. This one, like most of them, has a little bit darker color and it's a little bit plumper. This is a viable seed for next year. So when I know that these are good and dry, I'm going to let them go for just a little bit longer, a few more days. I will go through and sort and pull out any that are light in color, like these ones right here, and just go ahead and give them to the animals. And then I probably won't even save all of these, but the ones that are the biggest size and they look the healthiest, like even this one doesn't look very good, so I won't keep that one. This one's even got some dark on the top. I probably won't keep that one. But what I'm looking for is like this one. It's plump, it doesn't have any dark spots on it, and it's a nice size. That would be a good seed to keep for next year. Alright guys, well we're done with our seed saving for today. We got a good bit saved. I'm excited to be able to have some of these seeds saved up for next year. There's some things I wish I would have saved a little bit better, but I'm glad that we at least saved some things. I was reading one time the number of seeds that are saved now versus 100 years ago. The varieties is like so few compared to what there used to be, and so I'm excited to do our part and our family with saving some seeds for the next generations. Hopefully we'll be able to keep some of that long. Get out there, save your seeds, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
As you see, there's lots of these ones. I like these white ones.